What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Squad Anime. You're here with Akil, Q, and no David this time, but we still have the most important member, you. Today, we're covering One Piece chapter 1056, so let's get into it. First, we see the aftermath of Ryokugyu's attack on Wano. We see that Raizo and Shinobu are just dried out husks right now after the fight, and they admit that Kaido's presence did deter outside threats. Kinemon apologizes for not being there when the fight happened. He was apparently in Curry seeing Otsuru, and we have this really sweet moment where he thinks she's as beautiful as ever, and she says that she's going to be moving back to the capital to always be by his side.
Don't you just love young love?
Yes.
20 years in the making.
20 years in the making.
So, Carrot gets named the next ruler of the Mokomo Dukedom. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi say they'll be staying in Wano to serve as Momonosuke's retainers, which I think is a good call. Despite Carrot not being the strongest, everyone supports her being the next ruler, saying that Pedro's will lives on more in her than anyone else. Sukiyaki reveals himself as Momo and Hiyori's grandfather and apologizes, saying that he is in their debt. I was honestly wondering if he was ever going to reveal himself to them, and I'm really glad he did, because they definitely needed to know they had a surviving family member besides themselves, and they let him know that he doesn't need to apologize, and that simply having him around after losing their parents is more than enough. And he'll be a great asset to Momo as a retainer as well, since he was, the Shogun before Oden. The rest of the retainers admit that they had pretty much figured it out, except for Kinemon, who is secretly shocked as he had no idea.
Yes, it was real funny to see everyone else just talking about how they knew, and then just him silently there like, I had no idea. Classic, a little bit of Oda humor in there.
Yes.
Robin reveals to the rest of the crew about how Pluton is in Wano, which absolutely shocks Frankie. Frankie asks Luffy if he wants it, and Luffy says he's good without it in classic Luffy fashion, which might come back to bite him later, who knows. Frankie, much like the rest of us, also wonders why Oden would want to unleash it. And before we can talk more about it, Shinobu comes in with Otama, and the glow-up of the century, being completely unrecognizable. Otama tells Luffy that she's going to be Shinobu's apprentice, and talks about getting strong enough to join Luffy's crew the next time that they meet, which I think is really nice considering the fact that she made that promise with Ace, and now Luffy, with his inherited will, is going to be the one who hopefully will be taking her on the crew. And then, really important, we see that Caribou was listening in the whole time and plans to tell a certain someone about Pluton being in Wano. So this could mean big things for the future, and I'm worried that maybe that certain someone might just be Blackbeard.
Oh man, that would be a big twist, finding out Caribou was involved with Blackbeard. Because remember, he was involved with pseudo Luffy all the way back in Shabandi before the crew set off for Fishman Island.
Yes, when everyone was so shocked to find out that the fake who looked nothing like Luffy was a fake.
Yeah, and then to find out that he might have been a double crosser for the Blackbeard pirates, that would be insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the way back. But in classic Oda fashion, he always has the long con in mind.
Yes, well, we can't even begin to imagine what Oda has in store for us, so we'll just hopefully see as it unfolds. A few days later, we see Momonosuke is looking around the castle for Zoro, Luffy, and the others with no luck. He finds Hiyori, who tells him that they left earlier and said goodbye that morning, and Kinemon pops in just as surprised as Momo to find out that the Straw Hats had left and said goodbye to everyone except for them.
At the port, we see Luffy, Law, and Kid are all leaving at the same time and not very happy about it. They agree to head in different directions and have to choose between northeast, east, and southeast. Law alone picks northeast, while Luffy and Kid both pick east. After drawing lots to decide who goes where, Luffy ends up getting the short end of the stick and has to go southeast. I think Luffy could have used Future Sight to cheat here, and I wonder if he did, but didn't let Kid know. But knowing Luffy, he would probably forget to use it in that case too.
Yeah, especially considering how torn up he was that he didn't get to go east, I think he definitely forgot that Future Sight could have been used.
From Kid, they learned that Buggy, one of the new Emperors of the Sea, has formed the Cross Guild. He apparently has Crocodile and Mihawk working under him, although Zoro says he couldn't imagine Mihawk doing that, and I definitely agree. Additionally, Buggy's Cross Guild is shaking things up big time by issuing bounties on Marines. Luffy saying, "Trust me, he's just a moron," is hilarious, considering this is Luffy saying that.
Absolutely.
Who is not He is not the brightest bulb, if you guys are well aware.
Yeah, there's even the one scene in the manga where everyone on the crew just calls him an idiot. Like, but Law gives a copy of the Poneglyph to Kid, and Killer says that if they want to stay ahead in finding the One Piece, it's time to get serious about the man marked by flames. Now, it's important to note that the phrasing used here is unique and could imply a burn or scar shaped like fire. Luffy has no clue who they're talking about, and Law has a serious look as if he knows exactly who it is and what it means for the future. Back at the capital, Momo asks if Yamato has left too, and he responds from the roof that he hasn't yet, but has made up his mind, and the chapter ends with Yamato proudly declaring, "It's finally time for me to live like Odin did."
And that wraps up chapter 1056. Now we're going to head into the discussion section. There's a lot of things we want to talk about here, and so we might as well just get right into it. So the first thing that I had is that Carrot won't be joining the Straw Hats, finally bringing an end to the debate of Carrot versus Yamato. Are you surprised, Akil?
No, I'm not surprised at all. Before Yamato's appearance, I believed that Carrot could join the Straw Hats. I know, I remember a lot of people were like, oh, she wouldn't be able to pull her weight, but the Sulong form is getting slept on by a lot of people. But I'm glad to see that once Yamato came into the picture, I was like, Carrot probably won't be joining, and I'm glad to see that Carrot has her own role that she's going to be playing.
Yeah, not to knock Carrot, but getting Kaido's son is such a bigger upgrade than getting Carrot. Again, no offense to Carrot, she's very strong in her own right, but she wasn't taking on Kaido by herself.
Yeah, being Kaido's kid alone is already enough of a feat, being the kid of the unkillable Emperor of the Sea. But, like, the seeing the strength she possesses, on top of that, the devil fruit that she has is an insanely strong one. Yamato, I feel, is definitely not only a better fit for the crew, but will do more in the future.
Not only that, but the role she plays as being Odin is also really important, because I feel like the Straw Hats need that member of the crew, especially because she's read Odin's diary. So there's a lot of things that she's already familiar with that would be of great use to the Straw Hats.
You're absolutely right.
Another question I have for you, Akil, is who do you think Caribou was talking about?
Yeah, I know I said before that I was thinking it might be Blackbeard, but that was a very, like, in the moment it sparked into my brain. Before, I wasn't sure who Caribou was talking about, and I was trying to speculate and figure it out, but like I said, like, what Oda has in store, we can only guess. We can only hope to guess.
Yes, Blackbeard is probably the number one person that I would think that Caribou is mentioning, only because I could, on top of all the dangerous weapons that Blackbeard has to try to control the world, right? He has level 6 prisoners from Impel Down. He has the Yami Yami no Mi and the Goru Goru no Mi, which again has the power to destroy the world. And then if you were to put something like Pluton in his hands, he would pretty much be like the most powerful pirate like ever, right?
Absolutely. He's already, like, well on the path of being the strongest pirate ever. And if we didn't learn what we learned about Haki in Wano arc, I probably would have had, like, no idea how anyone would have been able to defeat him.
Yes, with the abilities of the Goru Goru no Mi and the Yami Yami no Mi being able to, take away your devil fruit powers, it's just, how do you approach someone like that?
Exactly, which is why I feel as though the final battle between Luffy and Blackbeard will very much be the Devil Fruit versus Haki battle. And in the sense that we know from Kaido that Roger conquered the seas with Haki alone, no Devil Fruit. Like, I'm hoping that Luffy can get his Haki to that kind of level where it absolutely negates everything that Blackbeard had been working for with the Devil Fruit powers.
And then we have a bar to reach, right? Because we know that Shanks' Haki is just so incredible.
Yes. Like, to the point that Ryokugyu had to stand down, and Shanks wasn't even fully in Wano water yet. He was in Wano's water, but not deep in Wano's water. Like, he was quite far out.
Yeah. I can't imagine what it would be like to feel his kind of power up close. My next question, unless you have something else to add.
No, I'm good.
Awesome. So my next question is, who is the man marked by flames?
That's a good question. See, I have a couple theories. The first person who popped into my head, the man marked by flames, I was thinking Sabo.
I was also thinking Sabo. I feel like that would be too easy though, you know?
Yes, which is why my second guess is Dragon. We know very little about Dragon, but I could see maybe him having something to do with that. Marked by flames implies, like, maybe, like I said earlier, implies that it might be a burn or scar shaped like flame, and we don't know enough about Dragon to confirm whether or not he has something like that. Like, what if he has like a giant flame looking scar on his back or something?
Well, that's an interesting theory you brought up, because people were talking about the Flames of Rebellion, right? And that's essentially what Monkey D. Dragon stands for, the Flames of Rebellion. Right now, Sabo's the face of it, but it's Dragon that's leading the Revolutionary Army, right? And
Yes.
someone that has this kind of power and this much standing in the world, maybe he has the last Poneglyph. I know that on our previous video, I kind of predicted that maybe the last Poneglyph is on God Valley, but I don't see why Dragon couldn't have the last world Poneglyph either, you know? And that's what makes him such a high-profile target by pirates.
I could definitely see that. And I just want to throw it out there, my third guess for who the man marked by flames is, which could be a bit of a long shot, I'm wondering if maybe it's Aokiji. And it's just referring to the fact that, remember how when him and Akainu fought, and they changed the environment of the islands like permanently, how he was burned up real bad? I'm wondering if maybe it was referring to that as well, and maybe because we know that even when he was part of the world government, he didn't have heavy allegiance to the world government. He was just kind of doing it because. So I'm wondering if maybe there's something more about him and what he has, what he knows.
So the only thing I would take issue with that is that I'm guessing it has to do with someone that could possibly translate the Poneglyph rubbing. So it makes me think there might be someone from Wano who doesn't live in Wano.
Ooh, that's pretty good too. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, someone who has the knowledge or ability to translate those Poneglyphs. I don't know, because Wano was also separated from society for such a long time. So it's just one of those things that Oda introduces a new mystery and you're just stuck guessing. Next up on the discussion, I want to talk about this Cross Guild. So you have Mihawk, Buggy, and Crocodile part of the same, I don't even want to say crew. I just want to say like they're being associated with each other, because I don't even think crew is the right word for it. So what's that about?
That's what I want to know. There's no way that Mihawk is actually working under Buggy unless there's just like some other level to it. Like maybe they agreed to like work together, and you know how whenever Buggy does something, like everyone who's behind him kind of overhypes it. They're like, oh, that's Buggy. Like, oh, Buggy's got Mihawk and Crocodile working under him. That's our King Buggy. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just kind of a played out misunderstanding, and no one bothered to ever clear it up.
Yeah, I had a couple theories. I was thinking that Mihawk was probably working under Buggy just to be like left alone, you know, because he likes his solitude. And the last time we saw Mihawk, he was surrounded by Marines, right? So I'm guessing that since he's no longer a Shichibukai, he would just be followed by Marines perpetually. So rather than put up with that, he just associated himself with Buggy and is like, okay, I'm with an emperor, you guys gotta leave me alone now. Because being an emperor obviously works as a deterrent, right? Like you see how Ryokugyu was talking about how Kaido was a deterrent from a bunch of people trying to enter Wano. So who knows what kind of threats are gonna come to Wano now. I think maybe Blackbeard might be paying a visit to Wano, but who knows? We'll see. Another thing I wanted to mention is that maybe Buggy's fallen so far up the ladder that Mihawk and Crocodile just have to acknowledge his insane amount of luck. Like, there's no way that they're fooled by this man's intellect or how strong he is, but they're just like, okay, I see where this guy's going. He's just he's just lucky. So I might as well see how far he goes before his luck runs out. And I could totally see them going along with something like that, right?
Oh, I could definitely. Crocodile for sure. I feel as though you might have been onto something with Mihawk wanting to be left alone. You're right. He really does like his solitude, which is why them abolishing the warlord system was. I feel as though it definitely could leave room for Mihawk to be like, all right, I'll just go behind an emperor. And if Buggy agrees, like, okay, hey, like, I won't bother you, I can just use, like, your name as an association with my emperor status and raise myself up even higher, I could definitely see them having that kind of thing. And Crocodile, ever the opportunist, I could see him just being like, Buggy's lucky in getting places, so I'll just follow along.
Exactly. But aside from that, I have no idea what Crocodile could be after, as he doesn't like working under anybody. You remember during the Whitebeard War, he kind of told Doflamingo to fuck off when Doflamingo offered to be a partner. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he's working under Buggy it's not a good sign for Buggy, I think. Next question, why did the crew leave Kinemon and Momo out? What do you think?
I think it's probably along the lines of how it's not the first time that the Straw Hats haven't necessarily said goodbye to some people when they left. They did a very similar fashion with Vivi when they left, and so I think it's probably one of those things where they view them as kind of part of the crew, so it's not really goodbye. They're not saying goodbye to them because in their hearts, like, they're always still linked, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how long that Vivi was associated with the Straw Hats, it's probably similar to the same amount of time in One Piece, in the One Piece timeline, as how long Kinemon and Momo have been with the Straw Hats since Punk Hazard, you know what I mean? So for the Straw Hats to say goodbye to somebody that's been with them for that long is probably just like really hard. And given like our timeline, I mean, they've been together for more than 10 years, right? Because Punk Hazard, that was way back in like 2012, I think. Because the Straw Hat Alliance started in May of 2012, or the Straw Hat Law Alliance started in May of 2012, and now it's just ended almost 400 chapters later. So the fact that it's just funny to think about how long we've had Momo with the Straw Hats, right?
Yeah.
I hope that they'll get the goodbye that they're looking for, but I think it's going to be like a symbolic goodbye. Like, you know how they drew X's on the back of their hand and just held it up when they were saying goodbye to Vivi. Mm-hmm. So I'll be interested in seeing how they say goodbye to Momo and Kinemon.
Yeah, I feel as though, like, at best, maybe Yamato might bring Kinemon and Momo to wherever the land ends before he heads to the Straw Hat ship. And that's how they'll get to, like, scream out their goodbyes to Luffy, and we'll see what the crew does to let them know that they'll always be, like, an honorary part of the crew.
Yeah, I could see Momo flying them there because, you know, he has his dragon form.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about his dragon food, yeah.
Be way faster. Yeah, can't forget that, man. He's gonna be using that to keep Wano safe.
Yes, now they have a benevolent dragon watching over them.
Yes, and Yamato has to hurry up, speaking of it. He wants to get on the Straw Hat ship, because the Straw Hats already look like they're ready to set sail.
Yeah, and you know what? He said he wanted to live like Oden, and so the first step to that might be leaving Wano by holding onto a chain up that's dragging behind the Straw Hat ship. And just for days, as Luffy refuses to have them join, and Yamato's like, I'm not letting go until you let me on the ship.
That's so true. I forgot that Luffy still hasn't officially welcomed Yamato as a member of the crew. So the fact that Luffy hasn't done that means that Yamato still has to approach that topic, right? Because Jinbei said, hey, if you're going to be a member of this crew, you need the captain's say-so, right? And I really hope it doesn't end up being like how Oden had to hang on to a chain, because A, Yamato is a devil fruit user, so I don't see that going well at all. And B, I just don't think she's as strong as Oden. Or he's as strong as Oden.
You know what? I don't think Yamato's as strong as Oden, but we've seen that at the very least with Sea Stone. Remember how Luffy and Kid both had a significant amount of strength when they had the Sea Stone cuffs on when they were in jail in Wano?
A little bit, yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe Yamato might be just like hold on off pure willpower, just like vice grip around the chain, even though the seawater's constantly draining him.
Yes.
Or even more funny, Luffy immediately accepts Yamato, and Yamato like wants to be dragged behind the ship for a while because they're like, that's how Odin did it, and I'm trying to be like Odin.
That would be, I could see that. That would be some funny Oda humor. That is our discussion for today. Those were all the questions I had for Akil. Is there anything else you had to ask Akil, or you wanted to bring up?
No, not really. I think that's about it.
All right, guys, that concludes our wrap up of chapter 1056. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit comments with some things you might have noticed or anything we might have missed. And we'll see you guys next time.
Squad out.
Squad out.